Welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. Once again, outstanding guest. And we have one of the young men here, you've seen him before, and what he's talking about is getting you involved in business, about business, real estate. You know, everybody's involved in that. Welcome to the Ed Brown Show. William Murry. William Murry. Hey, look, I think you're trying to take my place every time I look around, man. You're on my show. So you must have something positive to talk about. I think the subject matter is around the renting of property by students now, where they have certain rules. Like you said, we talked off camera, the rules have been there, but all of a sudden now they're enforcement. Tell us about it.
Well, Ed, you know, it's always a pleasure to be here. The situation is because of so many foreclosures, and then when they put their homes on the market, you had the investors buying them and putting them up as rental properties. And to keep everything uniform within the state and to make sure that the laws are abided by, they crack down. Mm-hmm. Because you got a lot of investors out there that are slumlords. Mm-hmm. That's just what it boils down to.
Right.
I was just at a property last week where this lady had water been running in her house for two months. Mm-hmm. Her carpet was wet, and it smelled of mold and mildew. Mm-hmm. And she had to call the housing authority to come in because the landlord wouldn't come in and do anything. Mm-hmm. And they cracking down. All you got to do is call them. Once you call the housing authority, they'll come out and they'll inspect it. They'll get on the landlord about what needs to be done to make sure that it's done. Mm-hmm. They're also cracking down on the law where to be a landlord and to rent, you have to have a renter's license. Mm-hmm. They're not that expensive. It's just that way the state has a way of knowing.
But on this rental license, is it requirements, you know? And how long does the inspection last? You know, I may have it inspected, and that one inspection, you know, things wear out. It may be 10 years, and everything don't wear out in the house.
Everything right now is boiling down to the benefit of the renter. I mean, of the tenant. Mm. If you have a complaint and your landlord's not taking care of it, call the housing authority. They'll take care of it. They'll bring an inspector by.
That's the county.
That's the county.
Right.
And they'll send an inspector by. They can't have these landlords out here who are not fixing these homes. Like last week when I was there, I was happening to be out doing my exercises when he came by, and I saw his car, so I stopped and talked to him. Mm-hmm. And he explained to me how busy they are now because the state has them cracking down on these slum landlords. Mm-hmm. Because
now, this is state combination county law?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Where did it come from? From the state or the county?
Ed, I'm not really sure, but I think it was from the county, which is under the rule of the state. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, Maryland has some of the best laws when it comes to real estate and when it comes to tenants, the protection of the tenants. Because, you know, the law changed. It used to be if the house was foreclosed on, the bank could come and put the tenant out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the laws will change now where if the house goes into foreclosure, the bank has to honor the tenant. It has to honor the
what do you mean by honoring?
Lease. Has to honor the lease that the tenant was under with the landlord.
Okay.
So the banks can't evict them.
Banks can't evict them. Well, supposing they're back default in the rent or whatever.
Then that's when they can take you to court just like a tenant, because the banks are then the tenant. Mm-hmm. I mean, are then the landlord. Mm-hmm. And they can take you to court for the rent. They can evict you then, but they still got to go through the court system. Mm-hmm. They got to go through the judicial system in order to do that, because then they're the same as they are the landlord. Mm-hmm.
Because before, that was one of the problems. The banks were, you go buy a house and they have a sign on the front door, and then they have the name of the bank there too. You know what I mean? This is a bank property.
Yeah. Well, now it's not that easy now, because now you have so many foreclosures, and there are steps and rules and regulations that the banks have to go to in order to be able to foreclose. They got to give you a certain amount of notice. They can't just send you a notice so you're evicted. They got to give you, I think, like a 90-day notice when they're foreclosing.
Okay, well, is this true for a renter that's renting a room? How do you do that?
If you are going to be a landlord and rent a room in your home, you still have to get renter's insurance. You got to get renter's insurance, and you've also got to get the renter's license to rent. You have to get that. That's the state is cracking down on. I'm telling you, if you are going to rent out a room, that is still rent. You are a landlord. You have to get a renter's license. They aren't that difficult to get, Ed. They're really not.
Well, what about the inspection? You're talking about it. Who's doing the inspection? Do they have qualified people with the county and the state to do this?
Yeah, they do.
And is it certified?
Yes, it is. Yes, because they're licensed and insured as county or state inspectors. Yes, the state. I got to give it to the state of Maryland. They're pretty thorough and they're pretty good at what they're doing, the laws and the rules and the regulations, and they aren't complicated. It's just you got to abide by them. I mean,
well, how do you enforce the thing that I get people asking the question? How do you enforce a person that's renting a room? A house I can understand, How do you do? You have 3 renters there. You have 4-bedroom house, and you have 3 renters. You have one for yourself, and all the 3, and then of the 3, there's one of them is delinquent.
Well, you got to realize they're only renting that room.
Right.
If you're smart, and which is law, you have to put them under some type of lease.
Oh. I see.
For that room, A, B, C, D,
okay.
room 1, 2, or 3. To be safe, to cover yourself legally, when you go to court, have them under a lease. If it's no more than month to month, it's still a lease.
Have a lease. You heard it here. Yeah, because some people are having that problem where they're making conversion because the demand now. I was reading in the paper where people are moving in D.C. like they're passing out gold. So real estate is going out of sight.
Well, right now in D.C., everything is so convenient. The subway is fantastic. You can go anywhere in the city within a matter of minutes on the subway. So you have people that shop in different areas of the city, that live in the city. You have more grocery stores. You have more your mega stores, your Walmarts and your Home Depots that are there. You got corporations now that are putting their stores into the city. Where it used to be, Ed, you had whole neighborhoods that didn't have grocery stores that are now have them. So when you get, and then you get these specialty stores that sell special type of food and items, you can shop within the city. Just jump on a metro or a bus, and any of them will get you there.
Well, that's one positive thing about Prince George County is the fact that we have more metro stops than any jurisdiction.
We do, Ed. And you look at Prince George County, look at the population of the county. And the fact that housing is more affordable than in D.C.
Okay, quickly, tell us about this class that you're going to have coming up in, what is it, October?
October the 18th, Saturday from 10 to 2, I'm going to do a workshop. I've been doing my research, Ed, and I've been talking to all these small businesses. And one of the questions I asked them is, what is stopping you from growing to the next step? And I'm taking what they're telling me and building a class. So if you have a business and you want to grow, you can already be a big business and want to grow. I'm going to give you ways to grow your business. Like I tell everyone, it's not the big things you do. That's great, that'll help you. It's the little things you don't do that stops you from growing. I'm listening to what the store owners are telling me, and I'm giving them advice and helping them to show them what they have to do. So I'm doing a workshop, Ed.
So where will this be held?
At 9701 Apollo Drive, Suite 431. That's in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. It's right up the street done but a block and a half from the boulevard.
And then you have a special there for young people and the senior citizens, right?
Yes, I do, Ed, because of the fact that the children are our future. They don't get a chance to see, all they see are the people on the TV, the rap artists and the movie stars and all that. I'm telling you, buy a ticket, and you can bring a teenager for free. Senior citizens, same thing. If you buy a ticket, you can bring a senior citizen for free.
But the idea is that this is, you set this purposely to get the senior citizen and the young people involved. Because what you have to realize is that we have to think in terms of the future. And the people that made it possible for what we have, they have to be taken care of too. So I'm happy to see that you're sending your program.
I look at it for the senior citizens, Ed, and I'm saying because you're retired and you're a senior citizen, don't mean you still can't contribute and have a business.
Right.
You're never too old to learn.
Online, you can go online and do everything.
And those are the experts. They retired. They've already done profession for all these years. They're experts.
And then online too. Now the information that you had concerning apartments, a certain real estate, they can actually go on. What is it, Google that you can go on and
Google anything, any information you want.
Any information that you want.
Or Ed, you can just call me.
Okay, this is Ed Brown, and hey, you heard it before, you know. And as far as real estate is concerned, we're gonna have this Mr. Murry back here again, because you know things change a lot. Okay, we're gonna have Dr. Leeke coming in second half. See you in a second.
Can you consent with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read.
So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite, unearth hidden passion. Come on, we'll have a good time. One book can be the first element, helps to change a life. People unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Hi, welcome back to John Leeke, Dr. John Leeke. He has so much in his resume here, but it'll take the whole show. So I'm going to let him talk about some of the subjects he feels. He want to talk about some different projects that are going on now, problems that are going on now. Welcome, Dr. Leeke. And you know, this resume, you have 104 items here. I decided, since you suggested it, we're going to talk about race relations. Tell us a little bit about it. You're a consultant. You've been around 40 years, working one place 40 years, right? And now you're out there writing books, and some of the books are the new Jim Crow and privileges, powers, and different. Tell us a little bit. You can start at the top.
All right.
Where were you born? And, you know, give us some information.
Well, just quickly, I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, but raised in Washington, D.C., college educated in Indiana, and worked a while in Flint, Michigan. And
bumped around a lot.
Yeah,
huh?
bumped around, but I spent the bulk of my life in Prince George's County.
Yeah, but you got a degree after you bumped all these places. You made sure you had something to show for it, right?
Right, and it was the kind of things that as I pursued my career and added to my education by going to the University of Michigan, and then got a PhD at the Union Institute. And my PhD was in organizational behavior, with a very heavy emphasis on change, especially addressing issues of race, gender, sexual orientation.
Hey,
so
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you want to start? You want to start with race relations?
Well, I thought I'd like to chat a little bit about it, because the issue of race is such a critical issue in our country, and has been for years. In fact, if I go back to W. Du Bois, in his book in 1903, he said the problem of the 20th century was the issue of color. And we are now in the 21st century, and that issue is still
here.
Still here.
Just a
And,
different way of doing it now.
Very different way, but some of the same principles and so forth that were operating at that time and operated during the time of slavery. And even today, with a lot of success that we've had in terms of improvement of issues of race, as one prime example is the fact that we've had Barack Obama be elected president and then re-elected president. And yet, as we see all of the kinds of things that are coming against him, makes me wonder just how much progress have we made. And one of the concerns that I have is that we as a people in this country just are so uncomfortable talking about the topic of race. And so a lot of what I have done over my career and working in corporate America and working in nonprofits and all is that all people are uncomfortable talking about race. And when I say all people, I'm saying white people, people of color, and I use the term people of color to represent black, brown, Asian, Native American. And what I find is that because that many people in some ways don't know enough about the true history of this country, feel very uncomfortable engaging in the conversation. Some folks feel uncomfortable engaging in it because it's very painful to start to talk about things that have happened to you personally, and this is especially true for black and brown folks. A lot of people have tried to put some of those uncomfortable things behind them, and they don't want to have a conversation about race. And then white people are so uncomfortable because deep down they know that a lot of the things that black and brown people talk about are as a result of what white people have done. And for some of them that's very personal because they know either they have or their ancestors have done. And so it makes it difficult. But one of the things that I have chosen to do is to try to help all of us to be able to have these very difficult conversations. Part of what I try to say to folks is that in order to have authentic conversations about race, you have to be willing to take some risk.
Well, what do you think about the current headlines, things that are going on in the sporting world and in general?
It's just the whole issue around the domestic violence that has come up around the National Football League. That's just another indicator of an issue that is just solidly a racial issue.
Well, what
because
do you?
for the most part, let me just say, for the most part, most of these instances in which that they've come up with cases have involved black, outstanding athletes, young men who are doing very well, but have some difficulty in terms of how they handle themselves when they run into some issues that they disagree about.
Okay, well, what do you think about this young lady? She is European that is having the same problem from, I think, a soccer team.
Yeah.
Now,
well, that's an interesting one. Now, I don't know as much about the background of that because that has just recently come up. So I don't feel as comfortable commenting about it as I do in terms of the kinds of things that have happened with Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson and the 3 or 4 others that have come to the forefront recently. But I'm certain that once that they do more of the research on it, they're going to find that the issues around how people handle anger.
Okay, I think it's centered around the economy. You know, Richard Wright, the great poet, said, you know, you're not free unless you're economically free. And I think in terms of that is a true statement. Because what happened is we still have problems in private industry getting employed at the higher level. Quite a few minorities had to go into the federal government in order to get recognized from the education that they took. And now all of this is coming back. And I would say private industry. What do you think of that? Their involvement in race relationship?
Private industries
Yeah.
involvement? Well, in some respects, private industry has made probably some greater strides in increasing the hiring and the advancement of people of color than in some ways the government. And some of that particularly has been the fairly recent success of some CEOs in big major corporations.
Well,
coming
what
to
do
the
you think?
forefront.
Is that tokenism? You know, we had tokenism a way back. You know, where they we have it in the elections. The same thing had with the governor. You know, with Maryland.
Well, we are still, as you talk about tokenism, we're still dealing with constantly hearing this is the first. For example,
right.
Anthony Brown, Lieutenant Anthony Brown, who's running for governor of the state of Maryland, when he is successful after the November 4 election, he will become the first black governor of the state of Maryland.
But when are we going to stop that? I think once we stop that, well, it's not unusual to see a minority in a CEO position or a position of class.
Yeah. Well, actually, at this point, it's not so unusual to see blacks in very high-profile positions everywhere, in government, in the private industry, in athletics, in entertainment. The dilemma, here's the dilemma. The dilemma is still that the people in the media who still call many of the shots, they are still functioning off of it's an exception for a black person to be in that position.
Well,
I think that has to change.
Yeah. Okay. The media, I know I'm part of the media, and I've experienced some of the things you've talked about. Well, since you identified that, don't you think one of the answers to that is having the minorities to develop some kind of communication line, like newspaper shows and things like that, that they control, because most of the television is controlled by private industry, and that depends on the different shows and things like that.
Well,
but as far as minorities concerned, they still have tokenism.
Yeah, but I think I agree. We are talking about moving into an industry that has been so controlled for so long by primarily white people. But what I think we are seeing, and is very encouraging, is being able to see what Oprah Winfrey has been able to do, what Tyler Perry, as Tyler Perry has now gone and made Atlanta the Hollywood of the South.
But I'm thinking of that person, that minority that's working at McDonald's, working at those type jobs that really are not making enough money to
now
be
that's a
in that
different
line.
issue. Now that's a different issue. You went from can we have some control?
Right. But you look at most of minorities are in that class, low economic class.
That's right, because that's still a fallout from the fact that we had slavery. It took time to get over slavery. Once slavery was sort of over, then we fell into the Jim Crow and all of this going on. So in many ways, we are still struggling to bring what I would say is true equality, where that many of the people that you referenced in terms of working at the McDonald's, part of that is, it goes back again to an issue that's connected to education.
Okay, and you heard it here on the Ed Brown Show. You know, we talk about a lot of things, but that's one of the problems that it seemed to be constant is race relationship, and having people to realize, you know, where it came from, how it started, and to you know, have some compassion for individuals that been under that type of environment for hundreds of years. This has been Ed Brown. I want to thank Dr. Leeke for being here. And man, we could have talked a long time, but time is out. See you next time.